अन्तिके तात प्रशयमोपेहि स्वपित्रे कूपितं प्रभुम् प्रहरादं प्रेषयामास ब्रह्मावस्थितमन्तिके तात प्रशमयोपेहि स्वपित्रे कूपितं प्रभुम्. Please repeat. प्रहरादं प्रेषयामाश ब्रह्मावस्थितमन्तिके तात प्रशमयोपेहि स्वपित्रे कुपितं प्रभुम् प्रहरादं प्रेषयामाश ब्रह्मावस्थितमन्तिके तात प्रशमयोपेहि स्वपित्रे कुपितं प्रभुम्. माताजी. प्रहरादं प्रेषयामाश ब्रह्मावस्थितमन्तिके मोपेहि स्वपित्रे कुपितं प्रभुम्. Word to word meaning. Praharadam, Prahlad Maharaj, Preshayamasa, requested, Brahma, Lord Brahma, Avasthitam, being situated, Antike, very near, Tata, my dear son, Prashamaya, just try to appease, Upehi, go near, Swapitre, because of your father's demoniac activities, Kupitam, greatly angered, Prabhum, the Lord. Translation. Thereafter, Lord Brahma requested Prahlad Maharaj, who was standing very near him, my dear son, Lord Narsimhadeva is extremely angry at your demoniac father. Please go forward and appease the Lord. Text number 4. तथे कि शनके राजन् महाभागवतो अर्भिकः उपेत्य भुवि कायेन न नाम विदितांजलिः. Narad Muni continued, O king, although the exalted devotee Prahlad Maharaj was only a little boy, he accepted Lord Brahma's words. He gradually proceeded towards Lord Narsimhadev and fell down to offer his respectful obeisances with folded hands. Text number 5. स्वपादमूले पतितं तमर्भकं विलोक्य देव कृपया परिप्लुत उत्थाप्य तश्रीनि अदधात् कराम्बुजं काला हि वित्रस्तधियां कृताम्भ्यम्. When Lord Narsimhadev saw the small boy Prahlad Maharaj prostrated at the soles of his lotus feet, he became most ecstatic in affection towards his devotee. Raising Prahlad, the Lord placed his lotus hands upon the boy's head because his hand is always ready to create fearlessness in all of his devotees. Purport. The necessities of material world are ahara, nidra, bhaya, and maithuna, eating, sleeping, defending, and mating. In this material world, everyone is in fearful consciousness, sada samugvignena dhyam, and the only means to make everyone fearless is Krishna consciousness. When Lord Narsimhadeva appeared, all the devotees became fearless. The devotee's hope of becoming fearless is to chant the holy name of Lord Narsimhadeva. Yato yato yami tato Narsimha. Wherever we go, we must always think of Lord Narsimhadeva. Thus, there will be no fear for the devotee of the Lord. Om Ajnanatimiranthasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुर्भ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। So, welcome back. So, we are at the culmination of this very interesting episode. We saw uh, details of Hiranyakashipu's tyranny. We saw the atrocities that he committed towards Prahlad Maharaj. And we saw the ecstatic appearance of Nrsimhadev. And now the conclusion of this whole pastime comes, where now Prahlad Maharaj is offering beautiful prayers to Lord Nrsimha. So, before we go into the details and the mood of Prahlad Maharaj's prayers, we will see something different. We will see how Prahlad Maharaj fought with Lord Nrsimhadev. Yes, you heard it right. So there are different versions of this, of the same episode of Prahlad and Nrsimha, and different Puranas give their own different versions. For example, in one particular, in Kurma Puran version, so Nrsimhadev, all the devatas were very much troubled by Narsinghdev's atrocities. So they all go to Brahmaji. And Brahmaji says, I can't do anything much. Let's go to the bank of Shirasagar. And there they start offering prayers to Lord Vishnu, and Vishnu manifests before them. And he asks, what do you want? He says, they complain. Hiranyakashipu is, troubling all of us, da da da. Okay, don't worry, I will appear. Right? And then Lord Vishnu, he comes there, and he sees that, oh, but they actually say, but he has a special boon that Brahmaji gave. That's how he became powerful. Then he explains, no, I'm going to come in this Nara and Simha, lion and human form, and that way I will counter that curse. And then he comes there, and Hiranyakashipu, he had 4 military generals, very prominent military generals in his army. Do you know who are they? First, Hlada. Second, Samlada. Third, Anuhlada. And the fourth, Prahlada. These were the 4 main military generals in Hiranyakashipu's army, each of them trying to uh, counter the Lord. And as soon as Lord Vishnu comes, all of them, they start attacking Lord Vishnu. It is described Prahlad used the Brahmastra against the Lord, but Lord just caught it like some lollipop and threw it away. And Anuhlada, there is something called as Vaishnavastra. He releases that astra. And again, that also doesn't affect Lord Nrsimhadev. Then Samlada, he releases a special astra called as a Kurmastra. Even that has no effect on Nrsimhadev. Then there is something called as Agneastra. Hlada, he releases this astra. Again, doesn't happen. And then Nrsimhadev, like how you squat flies, he just squats all the 4 sons of Hiranyakashipu aside. And then he starts fighting with Hiranyakashipu directly. And at some point, Prahlad Maharaj, he realizes, hey, actually, this is Lord Vishnu whom I've always been worshipping. And then he starts convincing all his brothers and his father that let us surrender to this Lord. So that is the Kurma Puran version of that story. Then this is a famous version. Our Sanatan Goswami also quotes this version in Brihad Bhagavatamrita. When our Narad Muni goes looking out for who's the greatest devotee, in his journey, at one point he comes to Prahlad Maharaj. And there Prahlad Maharaj he actually glorifies Prahlad Maharaj, quoting this example, that how the Lord himself gets defeated by Prahlad Maharaj in a fight. This is post this whole episode. Once Prahlad Maharaj, once he became a king, as a great emperor, he was scanning his entire kingdom. He was going, strolling through the kingdom. And in his kingdom, he finds a renunciate, a mendicant, but carrying bow and arrow with him. And this is not dharma. A renunciate should have renounced everything. He should have renounced his possessions, his ego, his controllership. And weapons are a sign of control. So how is it that this renunciate is carrying this danda, the bow and arrow with him to punish? So this is adharma. So immediately Prahlad Maharaj, he starts fighting with this whatever, this cheat. And the battle goes on for days and days, and it's like whatever Prahlad Maharaj would release a weapon, this mendicant would release a counter weapon. The fight was going on and on and on for many years and many days. So he realizes that Prahlad Maharaj, that I need extra strength. So then that day he starts offering special prayers to Lord Vishnu. And then every day in the morning before the fight, he would personally make a garland with his hand for Lord Vishnu and offer that garland to his deity. And when he would go and stand in the battlefield to fight, he would see that mendicant is wearing the same garland that he offered to his deity in the morning. So then he understands, then he bows down that, oh my lord, this is you. Sorry, I could not identify you. But then he asks a question. A Kshatriya has a dharma of defeating his enemies. If a Kshatriya takes up a vow of challenge and fight, a Kshatriya should not step back. Either he should be killed or he should kill the enemy or defeat the enemy. So how can I fulfill my dharma? Then Lord Vishnu says, I am always defeated by you. And Lord Vishnu surrenders to Prahlad. So that's a very sweet version that Vaman Puran in Bhagavad first half, in chapter number 4, this is quoted. There's another interesting version in Garuda Puran where one day Prahlad Maharaj, again, as a king, he was traveling and he somehow unintentionally insults a Brahmana. He does not give him due respect. And the Brahmana gets upset and he curses him. And because of that curse, he ends up having a fight with the Lord. Of course, the intention of that story is to highlight the power of a devotee, the power of a Brahmana's curse. So different Puranas, they quote the same episode from different angles, sometimes with different details, to highlight one specific aspect. So when we are trying to read these pastimes, we need to understand what is the mood in which we need to read these episodes, right? Something we'll talk about later in this class today. So this specific episode where we are coming to Prahlad Maharaj praying to Lord Narasimhadev, there's a very special temple in Andhra Pradesh, south of India. It's called as Kadiri, which is very close to Tirupati, south of Ahobilam also. So in Ahobilam, Lord killed him, but then Lord was still ferocious. He was moving here. And understand that when Narasimhadev appeared, if you remember the previous chapters, actually when I went to Ahobilam, there's a very nice saintly personality who's doing worship of Narasimhadev in the school where Prahlad Maharaj was studying. It's called as Prahlada Badi. Badi is a Telugu word for school, like a simple, like a, what do you call, Anganwadis we have, right? Like that, Badi is the Anganwadi equivalent, where Prahlad Maharaj was studying. So he's still sitting there, young person, he must be like our age or something, right? And so when I went there, so I was asking him that, oh, do you really think there was a palace here? Because if you go to the Ugrastamba, it's not a pillar. I mean, all that is there is just the cliff, the mountain top. And no way you can imagine that how an entire palace can reside there. Because as the description of the Bhagavatam, Narasimhadev came out of a specific pillar, and that pillar is part of a whole. So you would expect a big, huge arena where once, like if you go to Rome and all the Caesar's palace and all this, or even if you go to Hampi and see the ruins there, you'd expect a big, huge, flat plain and somewhere one broken pillar or something like that. But when you go to Ugrastamba in Ahobilam, Reaching that pillar itself is a whole hike, and you'd wonder where is the rest of the palace. So I asked this question to this person, that do you really think palace once existed here, or is it just some, we need some place to worship, so they created a place. Amazing Shastric answer he has given, quoting Bhagavatam. He quotes a specific verse in Bhagavatam where Narsingadev, when he appeared, it is described that space and time also got distorted. All the elements, earth, water, fire, air, ether, got distorted. And said when Narsingadev appears, ether, space element gets distorted. Therefore, the whole space as you think as a flat plane, even that got distorted. So what is left behind is a carnage that was Narsingadev created. So it's difficult for us to even imagine, but that one very specific detail that verse Bhagavatam describes, yes, when space gets distorted, yes, naturally the planes will no more be planes. What is left behind is something we can't even imagine. So like that. So then Ahobilam he kills, but when he comes further south, there's a place called as Kadiri. There it is described is where Prahlad Maharaj offered prayers to Narsingadev and pacified him. And very special that Kadiri, it's a tree. It's a Indian mulberry tree. And it is said that it's a Swayambhu deity of Lord Narsimhadev manifesting from the root of the tree. And like how Jagannath is Daru Brahman is made of wood, they say that this Kadiri Narsimha is also made of wood. Of course, when you go today, he's ornated with all, cladded with all the silver and gold armor and all the hands and legs and everything. But actually, it's a wooden deity. And the most amazing thing is they do Abhishek of that deity. And because Narsingadev is still yet to be pacified, he's still in that Raudra, Ugra mood. So the deity starts perspiring. So the pujaris have to clean the perspiration of Lord Narsimhadev. So that is how this place is very, very special. So it is said that this is where Prahlad Maharaj offered his prayers to Lord Narsimha. So in this purport also Prabhupada writes that how we need to pray to Lord Narsimha. Wherever we go, we must always think of Lord Narsimha. Then there will be no fear for a devotee. So why we pray to the Lord? Because at one level we need to understand, usually we pray when we are going through suffering. Is it right to pray to the Lord to overcome our suffering? Lord, make my life peaceful. Is it legitimate? You think it's correct to pray like that? What do you think? For example, it's easy to comprehend that when your mind is going towards sense gratification, we pray to the Lord to give us strength. Those prayers we feel are legit. But is it legit to pray when we are going through some suffering? Lord, please remove my suffering. Is it legit to pray? How many of you say yes? Raise your hand. And don't look at each other and answer. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, how many of you say it's not legit to pray? Okay, so this is a point that many times we miss, that in a devotee's life, there are two major obstacles. One is extreme pleasure, other is extreme suffering. Both can take your mind off the Lord. So we understand that extreme pleasure, extreme sense gratification is bad, and we pray to the Lord for protection. That part we understand. But it's also the responsibility of a devotee to pray to the Lord to protect us from extreme suffering. When we are going through some major calamities, because right now we have Komal Shraddha. We are not Haridas Thakur to get whipped in 22 marketplaces. In one whip and we will forget Krishna, forget 22 marketplaces. So when devotees go through extreme suffering, it's very easy, there's a very high probability of them to lose their Shraddha. And therefore, of course, Krishna never tests us beyond our capacity, but it's also within the mandate of the devotee to protect oneself, shield oneself from extreme suffering. So that is why if you see all the don'ts of our Vedic practices are stay away from sense gratification. That is, avoid extreme pleasure. But if you carefully analyze the logic behind all the do's of Vedic lifestyle, they are to prevent unnecessary suffering, right? Varnashram dharma. Don't struggle against your nature. Take the path of least resistance. Avoid unnecessary suffering. Already there is enough suffering in this world. You don't have to go and embrace sufferings, because our philosophy is not the Christian philosophy, where, because the Messiah came and suffered because of us to redeem us of our sins, we can reciprocate back towards the Messiah by suffering. Because in the Christian theology and in certain many other world faiths, suffering is seen as a connection to God. Because all the great messiahs have suffered, therefore we also go through suffering. For them, tapasya is not for purification, but they feel it is the sadhana. So austerity is not our sadhana. This we have to be very clear. We are not tapasvis, we are not yogis. Austerity is not our sadhana. Whatever helps us remember Krishna better, whatever is taking us closer to Krishna. So austerity is just a support structure. If without being austere, you are able to remember Krishna, you will still go back to Godhead without doing an ounce of austerity. But if engaging in austerity is what you need to remember Krishna, then good luck. You need austerities. So the point is, many times we overestimate the power of austerities, right? Like now, Karthik is going on. So one very senior devotee very nicely mentions that many times in Karthik, we take vows of austerities. No sweets for one whole month, right? But he says you should take vows where you are increasing your devotional activities. I will chant extra rounds in Karthik. I will spend more time with devotees. I will, do extra seva. I will read 30 minutes of extra Prabhupada's books in Karthik. So when you take that is because you're increasing your remembrance to Krishna. So Karthik is not a month where you are reducing your remembrance of Maya, but our focus, the devotee's focus is on how do I increase my remembrance of Krishna. So that's the understanding of austerities. Therefore, for us, for a devotee, they have to guard against both extreme pleasure and extreme suffering. So it is perfectly legit for a devotee to pray to the Lord to protect them from these intense sufferings. Right? At one level, a devotee thinks, yeah, this is just the doings of my past. I will not blame anybody for my suffering. At one level, a devotee has that attitude. But also at a deeper level, a devotee also understands that I need the Lord's protection. I'm not going to fight, even to tolerate my own past karmic reactions. I need the Lord's grace. I need the strength coming from the Lord. So that's the mood of a devotee's prayer, right? Therefore, there are such beautiful prayers that, like for example, Prabhupada quotes in Chaitanya Charitamrita, in that section where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is going to South India and he goes to all the Narsingadev temples. Prabhupada quotes some beautiful prayers. Like he quotes this one poem composed by Sridhar Swami. He says, Vagisha yasya vadane lakshmir yasya cha vakshasi yasyaste hridaye samvit tam narsimham aham bhaje. Vak Isha, Vak Devi, who is the goddess of knowledge, learning, wisdom, he's the Isha. He's the master of goddess of. So Narsingadev we know only for his ferocity and his strength, but he's also the master of Vedic wisdom. So you can pray to Narsingadev so we understand Shastra also. Vak Isha, Yasya Vadane Lakshmi. So Lakshmi is residing on his Vadana, on his chest. Vakshasi. Yasyaste Hidaya Samvit. And to that Lord who's always complete in knowledge, Yasya Hridaya Samvit, the Samvit potency, the knowledge potency is completely there in him. Tam Narsimham Aham Bhaje. I worship to that Lord Narsimha. That is one very beautiful prayer that Sridhar Swami quotes in the before the prayers of Vedas personified. In that chapter he quotes so that we understand that chapter by mercy of Lord Singhadev. Those of you read that chapter, you will know what this means, right? Likewise, in the very first, in the opening commentary of Bhagavatam itself, Sridhar Swami quotes this. Prahlada hriladam hridaya haladam bhaktya vidya vidaranam Sharad Indu Ruchim Vande Parnida Vadanam Harim. He says, let me offer my obeisances to Narsimdev, who is always enlightening. Prahalada Hridaya Ahlada, within his heart, and who always kills and shines. Bhakti Avidya Vidaranam. So all the avidya which is covering the bhakti, he destroys it. And he is Sharad Indu. We had Sharad Purnima recent, the best moon, the closest. This time Sharad Purnima was also special. This is the closest the moon was to the earth. So Sharad Indu Ruchim Vande. And his mercy is distributed like the moonshine. And his face, Parindra Vadanam Harim, his face is like a lion. Let me offer my Vadanam, offer obeisances unto him again and again. So usually we identify Narsimdev with the bright sunshine. But here he is using the word moonshine. Moonshine is so feminine, so gentle, so soft, so cooling. Because for a demon, Narsimdev's tejas is like the blazing sun. But for a devotee, Narsimdev's tejas is like the cooling sunshine. That's why Prabhupada here is again repeating that wherever we go, we must always think of Lord Narsimhadev. Thus, there will be no fear for a devotee of the Lord. Lord Chaitanya also, very beautiful description comes in that chapter of Ramanandra Samvad. So before he goes to Kovur, he goes to Jiyada Narsimha, Simhachalam Narsimha, Vizag. So there, Kaviraj Goswami, he describes that how Purve Rite Prabhu Age Gamana Karila, Jiyada Narsimha Kshetre Kata Dine Gela. According to his previous program, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went forward to his tour, and after some days he arrived at a place of pilgrimage known as Jiyada Narsimha. Narsimha Dekhiya Kaila Dandavata Pranati. Premavesha Kaile Bahu Nitya Gita Shruti. As soon as he saw upon the deity of Narsimhadev, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offered his Dandavat, falling flat. Then in ecstatic love, Prema Veshe, he performed Kaila Bahu Nitya Gita Stuti, offered many dances and prayers. And what is that prayer Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recited? Shri Narsimha, Jai Narsimha, Jai Jai Shri Narsimha, Prahaladesha, Jaya Padma, Mukha Padma, Bhringa. All glories to Narsimhadev, all glories to Narsimhadev, who is the Lord of Prahlad Maharaj. And like a honeybee is always engaged in beholding the lotus-like face of the goddess of fortune. So there, Narsimhadev is with Lakshmi Devi. So Chaitanya, Lord Chaitanya offered that specific prayer. So if you broadly see Narsimhdev's deities, you can classify them into two types. There is the fierce forms, the Ugra forms, and there is the Anugraha forms, where he's seated with Lakshmi Devi and Prahlad Maharaj sometimes on his lap, right? So which form should we worship? Which form of Narsimhadev would you like to worship, Ugra or Anugraha? How many of you say Ugra? Raise your hand. 1, 2, wow. Prabhu is only Ugra. Very good. Okay. How many of you want to worship the Anugraha forms? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So congratulations, you are not Gaudiya Vaishnavas. If you want to be called as a Gaudiya Vaishnava, you have to worship the Ugra form. So this is where we'll spend a few minutes trying to understand the mood, the Gaudiya Vaishnava mood of worshipping Narsimhadev. See, Narsimhadev is glorious. Different Puranas, they glorify Narsimhadev in their own unique ways. But if you want to call yourself as a follower of Lord Chaitanya, there is a specific mood. Why do we worship Narsimhadev? Right? So you have to understand. Now, Narsimhadev, you identify with him with fear, ferocity, with anger, right? But there is one another form of the Lord who is 1,000,000 billion trillion zillion times more angry than Narsimhadev. How many of you know about this form of the Lord? In fact, it is said that this particular form of the Lord is a source of Narsimhadev's anger. So if Narsimhadev anger in front of this form. If this form of the Lord is like a lion, Narsingh Dev is like a tiny little squeaky kitten in front of this form of the Lord. Have you heard about this form of the Lord? No, not Vishwarupa. This is the source of all the anger in this world. Krishna is the ultimate answer for everything. This specific form of the Lord, who is a million, billion, trillion, zillion times more ferocious, more angry than Narsingh Dev, is called Lord Damodar. The source of Narsingh Dev's anger comes from that little baby Damodar. Because this is the Gaudiya Vaishnava understanding. For us, when you see Narsingh Dev, you have to see, oh, Damodar, he's upset. Right? So Damodar, we all know the story. His Holiness Shivaram Swami Maharaj gives a beautiful insight in Damodar Janani, that how, without going to too many details, just at one specific moment of Damodar's anger, why he became so angry, because Mother Yashoda, she saw, we know that story, right? When Mother Yashoda was giving her milk to baby Damodar, the milk thought there's no purpose for my life's existence and it wanted to commit suicide and it was jumping into the fire. So at that moment, Mother Yashoda, she thought, oh, I want to serve my Kanha with some excellent butter and yogurt, and because Kanha is always going and stealing from other people's houses, because see, understand, now I understand, being a mother is not easy. She has no time for herself, forget about cooking or cleaning or doing anything else. So Mother Yashoda also delegated the cooking to her maids, her associates. But she understood that none of my maids can make the best quality butter. So that time, fed up with all the complaints that the other gopis of Vrindavan were presenting, Mother Yashoda thought that I will make the best butter that Kanha will never even look at anybody else's house anymore. So she collected the best milk from the Padmagandha cows and she was boiling them. The whole process was going on. So when he saw that her plans were getting upset because the milk is boiling over, she keeps little Damodar aside and then she rushes towards that fire. Now, Damodar at that point, he was in the topmost ecstasy, nourishing, suckling on his mother and experienced the highest ecstasy. And suddenly, when his ecstasy got thwarted, wondering what's happening here? Who's more important than that milk? You are prioritizing that milk over me? Is this your motherly love? But that didn't upset Damodar more. What really upset Damodar was, see, understand, not only was Damodar relishing the joy of that union with his mother, even Mother Yashoda was in trance while feeding Damodar. Just the touch of Damodar's little fingers on her body and suckling, the touch of Damodar's lips made ecstatic waves flow through the body of Mother Yashoda. At that moment, when she separated Damodar, because Krishna is at ultimate in this exchange from Yashoda's perspective, Krishna is the Vishaya of that rasa, of that Vasalya ras. And Mother Yashoda is the Ashraya. So as an Ashraya, she is limited, but Krishna as a Vishaya is unlimited. So when she separated Damodar and she was rushing, her entire mind was filled with Vipralamba. And because Krishna is unlimited and she is limited, she experienced unlimited joy of separation. Whereas Krishna, he also experienced separation from his mother, but he being unlimited, his joy of separation was less than Mother Yashoda's joy of separation, and Krishna is double upset. First of all, you separated me from my joy, and now you are happy more than me in joy of separation. Also, you are experiencing more joy. This is not fair. And he became so angry, he clenched his fist, and at that time, had Narsinghdev also appeared there, he would have run away in fear. That was the intensity of Damodar's anger. But you may be thinking, is it real anger? Isn't Krishna Atmaram, Atmakam? Shouldn't he be self-satisfied? Why is he, you know, experiencing this anger? So very nicely, Shivram Swami Maharaj, he explains there that, so when all this episode is happening, there were two birds, Shuka and Sari, the two parrots, transcendental parrots of Radha and Krishna were sitting there and watching. They were having a conversation. Is Damodar really upset or is he faking anger? So then Sari explains to Shuka, he's really anger. What's the proof? When will you put up a show? When will you put up a drama? When you have an audience. Who was the audience there when Krishna, Damodar was angry? No one. So when you are angry alone, it means it is genuine anger. So Damodar was not faking that anger. So while all this conversation was happening, there were so many other birds that also came there. And one bird suddenly started saying that, no, actually, he's the supreme personality of Godhead. He's always self-satisfied. This is just a show he's putting up. So among those birds, there was one wise owl of Vrindavan. The owl immediately looks at that bird and you are a bird from Mathura. Your rasa is different. You please don't talk now. Because in Mathura, Krishna is the Supreme Lord. In Vrindavan, he is just our little Kanha. So you don't talk now. You please sit quiet. Right? So this transcendental anger that Damodar demonstrates, it's an anger born out of love. If you see that anger, Raudra, is the secondary rasa. It's not a primary rasa. That primary rasa which triggered the secondary rasa is at Vatsalya. And that separation from Vatsalya created this Raudra. So we have to understand that even the Lord's anger is rooted in love. Narsinghdev's anger towards Hiranyakashipu was rooted in his love for Prahlad. Therefore, nobody could pacify Narsingdev at that moment. None of the Devatas could His Holiness Gaur Govind Swami Maharaj gives a beautiful insight in this. If you saw previous chapter, right, so many Devatas, they offered their prayers, but nobody could satisfy, right? So he says that Shanda and Amarka, they represent Karmis, Karmi psychology. So they were also there as Brahmanas, they were there, but they could not pacify Narsimhadev. All the different Yakshas, Kinnaras, all of them, they offer prayers to Narsingdev. All these other Devatas, they represent the Anya Abhilashis. They have a desire something other than the Lord and other than pure devotion. Therefore, they also could not satisfy the Lord. But when Prahlad Maharaj, he is an embodiment of Shuddha Bhakti, Anya Abhilashita Shunyam, Jnana Karmadi Anavritam, Anukuliyana Krishna Anushilam Bhakti Ruttamam. He is an embodiment of that Ananya Bhakti. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj alone could pacify the Lord. And that anger of Narsingdev came because of love that he had towards Prahlad Maharaj. Therefore, our Gaudi Vaishnava mood of when we look at Narsingdev, we are not interested in Lakshmi Narsimha. Today, there's a growing trend somehow, especially if you go to certain parts of India, where a lot of Aishwarya Bhav is very prominent, where we are mixing rasas. Even in our ISKCON temples, we are doing Aishwarya Bhav worship, right? So we are very, very clear that we are not worshipping Lakshmi Narsimha. We are not Sri Vaishnavas in a different mood. Sometimes cultures and practices of some other traditions are being brought in. But we have to be very, very clear. We are not interested in the Shanta Anugraha Rupa of Narsimha. We are interested in only Ugra Narsimha. Why? Because that Ugra, very beautifully, our Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he explains how all the 12 rasas Krishna exhibits in different avataras. Kapilo Madhave Upendro Narsimho Nandanandanaha Balaha Kurmastatha Kalki Raghavo Bhargava Krihi Meena Iti Ishu Kathita Kramadi Dwadasha Devata. These are the 12 deities assigned for the 12 rasas. Kapila, he exhibits Shantaras. Madhava, as a husband of goddess of fortune, he's a little bit of a henpecked husband. So Madhava represents the Dasya Bhav. Then Upendra, Vamandev, he is the brother of Indra. So the Sakyaras Upendra represents. Narsimha represents Vatsalya Bhav. Then Krishna represents Madhurya. Madhurya, only Krishna is the boss. Nobody else. He outsources that. Balaram, Hasyaras. Balaram is always cool, chill out, joking. In his Varuni, he's in his own ecstatic mood. Right? He represents Hasyaras. Kurma represents Adbhuta Rasa. Kalki represents Viryaras because he's in a warrior mood. Right? Rama represents the Karuna Ras because in separation from Sita, he's in that Karuna Bhav. Then Parshurama represents the Raudra Bhav. Varaha represents the Bhayanaka Rasa. And Meena, Matsyavatar, represents the Bhibhatsa Rasa, astonishment. Like that. So the point here is that for us, Krishna will always remain, Krishna of Vrindavan, to be very, very specific, will always remain our Aradhya Bhagavan. Right? All these other forms are just sometimes Krishna wears a mask and does some drama and comes back and removes the mask. And specifically, we are worshipping Narsingadev not in that peaceful mood, but specifically in that Ugra Rupa. Why? Because we want him as a fighter, as in his Ugra form. When was Narsingadev angry? Just before the fight. We want that fighter Narsimha. Whom is he going to fight with? The anarthas within our heart. So the reason why Prabhupada also instituted Narsingadev, the Narsinga Pranam mantra, was because during Sankirtan, many of our devotees were being attacked. In Mayapur also, local people were attacking the devotees. So to protect against the evil forces, right? Even in the Tantric traditions also, the Narsingadev's Bija mantra, Hraum mantra, is considered as it comes from the heart. It's a combination of the heart chakra and the solar plexus, the Manipura chakra. Manipura is fire and heart chakra is a desire, creative energy. When fire and creative energy, when they combine, that's the Hraum mantra. That Hraum Bija is said to be the most powerful Bija mantras, especially to vanquish evil. That is why Chandi has the same mantra, Narsingadev has the same, and even among them also, the Tantric worshippers, they say that among all these energetic forms of the Lord, of the divine, Narsingadev is the most powerful. Only very, very exalted people only. You'll see a lot of Shakti Upasakas in the Tantra tradition, but very, very few Narsimha Upasakas you see, because only the Vaishnavas only can handle that energy of Narsingadev because they are in the mood of Prahlad Maharaj. So even if you are not a Vaishnava, also even the other traditions also, Narsingadev seen as a remover of obstacles. So that is the mood with which we want to worship Narsingadev. And I would like to conclude very quickly, last 8 minutes. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has composed beautiful prayers to Lord Narsimhadev. Because there's a chapter on prayers, I thought we can read these beautiful prayers. In this book called as Sri Navadvipa Bhava Taranga, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has composed 5 special prayers to Lord Narsimhadev. And we can understand what is the Gaudiya Vaishnava mood of praying, worshipping Narsimhadev. This very beautifully it describes. He says, E Dishta Hridaya Kama Adi Ripu Chaya Kuti Neti Pratishtaha Sahasya Sadaras Raya Hridaya Shodhana Ara Krishnera Vasana Narsimha Charane More Eito Kamana. E Dishta Hridaya, O wicked mind, Kama Adi, all you are headed by lust and all these people are ruling over you. And then Kutaniti, all the duplicity, Pratishta Asa, the desire for fame, then cunningness. At the lotus feet of Lord Narasimha, I hope that he will mercifully purify my heart and give me the desire to serve Radha and to serve Lord Krishna. Then Kandiya Narasimha Pade Magibo Kakana Nirapade Navadvipe Yugala Bhajana Bhaya Bhaya Paye Yara Darshane Se Hari Prasanna Hoibo Kabe Mora Daya Kari. Weeping, Kandiya, I am offering prayer. I beg at the lotus feet, Narsimha Pade, Mangibo, I am asking for just one thing. Give me the benediction of Niraparade without any offenses. Navadvipe Yugala Bhajana. I want to worship Radha and Krishna in Navadvip. Then, when will Lord Hari, whose terrible form strikes fear into fear itself, ever become pleased and show me his mercy? यद्यपि भीषण मूर्ति दुष्ट जीव प्रति प्रहलाददि कृष्ण भक्त जने भद्र अति कबे वे प्रसन्न होए से कृपा वचने निर्भय करिबे ए मूढ़ अकिंचने. Even though Lord Narasimha is terrifying outwards toward the dushta jiva, toward the sinful souls, he is Prahladakari. He offers great auspiciousness unto the devotees of Lord Krishna headed by Prahlad Maharaj. When will he be pleased to speak words of compassion unto me, a worthless fool, and thereby make me fearless? Swachande bhaisho he vatsa Sri Gauranga dhame, yugala bhajane hau rati hau name. Mama bhakta kripa bale vigna jabe dura, shuddha chitte bhajo Radha Krishna rasapura. He will say, Narsinghdev will come and say, my dear child, sit down freely and live happily here in Gauranga Dham. So if you want to pray for Narsinghdev, pray that he gives you residence in Navadvip, in Mayapur. May you nicely worship the divine couple and may you develop loving attachment for their holy names. By the mercy of my devotees, all obstacles are cast far away. With a purified heart, just perform the worship of Radha and Krishna, for such worship overflows with sweet nectar. And finally, he concludes by saying, Ei boli kabe mora mastaka upara, Sviya Sri Charane Harshe Dharibe Ishvara, Amani Yugala Preme Satvika Vikare, Dharaya Lutibo Ami Sri Narsimhadware. Saying this, will that Lord delightedly place his own divine lotus feet upon my head. I will experience sublime love for the divine couple Radha Krishna and undergo the ecstatic transformations called the Satvika Vikaras. Falling on the ground, I will roll about on the door of Lord Narsimhadev's temple. So we are only worshipping Lord Narsimha so that he can remove the obstacles within our path and give us access to the pure love of Radha and Krishna in the mood of Sri Gauranga. So that's the Gaudiya Vaishnava mood of praying to Lord Narsimhadev. All right, we'll end our discussion here. Would anybody like to add something? Any comments? Any questions? Anybody would like to add something? Jai, if you have any questions, please play to Lord Narsimhadev. He will clear all your doubts. Yantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Antakoti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Hari Hari Bol.